Hi there, I'm Michael Hill with Canine Chronicle TV, and I am here for our Influencers series today with Lynda O'Connor Schneider. How are you, Lynda?
I'm doing just great. How about you?
I am great. So I want to hear all about how you were made into the dog person that you are today and who some of those people that were most influential in that process of getting you into the sport of dogs and helping build your career as a dog person.
All right. Well, I guess we need to go all the way back to where I very first started.
The beginning of the story.
The beginning of the story. I started in 4-H when I was 9 years old. And my 4-H leader was Elizabeth Harris, who was, I think I would say she was my first mentor and the person that got me going into this dog game. She taught me the obedience part, the showmanship part, the sportsmanship part, everything that you really need in the dog world.
Foundations.
Pardon?
Foundations.
Yes, foundations, very good foundations. I did 4-H for quite a while. I think until I aged out, I don't even totally remember. I started with a mixed breed collie and of course did the obedience and did the junior showmanship, which helped confirmation. Then I got really interested and wanted to start doing more in the AKC shows. Okay. So I got me my collie that had a bad overbite, but I didn't know. I thought he was a great show dog. Anyway, and so that's kind of how I first got started. And I started showing this collie and did obedience and did junior showmanship. And I did the breed, then realized, oh, that wasn't right. So then I kind of watched people at the shows. And I lived in Colorado at the time. And when Ray and Jeanette McGinnis would come, I just was enthralled with them. And I would go to the rings and watch them and see everything that they did. And I fell in love with the springers. They had some springers that I really enjoyed and liked. And so I really fell in love with them. So I got my first springer. Well, of course, he wasn't a real good show dog. Aren't our first ones usually aren't. And
that's a learning curve.
Exactly. So I kept going to the shows, and I would go to the Arizona shows because they usually were at the Arizona shows, and I would just really watch them and be very intrigued with them. And I continued to get other springers that were better, and I did finish my first champion. What made my year was when I would place like third and Ray McGinnis had placed fourth. That was just like the icing on the cake for me for the whole year. I loved it.
Keep that ribbon.
Exactly. Well, Ray was very, very helpful, and so was Jeanette. And they knew I was very, very interested. And back in those times, Ray and Jeanette never had assistants. So they asked me to come and I would help them as much as I could. Of course, I was just starting, so I didn't know very much. But I would help them get dogs ready in the morning and get dogs to the ring if they needed. There wasn't a lot because they didn't show tons and tons of dogs.
Sure.
Ray was so influential in my grooming. He would have me come to his setup the night before a show, and he would groom one side of the dog. Now he would groom the off-show side. He would not groom the show side, which that's how I learned. And so I would go back to my setup or back to the room or whatever, and I would groom the other side. Of course, some nights I was up almost all night trying to get it to match, and it
Perfected.
never. Yeah, exactly. It didn't always match, but we'd be in the ring, and he'd come over and he'd pull up a piece of hair. This needs to go, or pull up a piece of hair here and say, this needs to go. And that's how I learned. I learned that from them. I learned the sportsmanship from them. Jeanette was always, you stay dressed all day, whether you win, you lose, you stay dressed all day and look the part. And if you lose, we all want to win. So all of us do. if I lost, they say, you go back to your rig and you get in your car and you scream, close all the windows and the doors and scream, don't let people see you. I know some of us all, guilty of it too. We do get upset about it, but they taught me the sportsmanship and all that. There's been several others. My very first springer I got that was the real big, good show dog, or the one I did a lot of winning with, was from Andrea Glassford.
Okay.
And she was a scary person to me.
How did you first meet Andrea?
again, I was at shows, and I just loved the look of her springers. I had seen a picture of Jester's Jack in the Box, the one dog she did a lot of winning with. And I just thought that was the epitome of a Springer. I thought that was exactly what a Springer should look like and what I wanted. Mm. And I was so nervous about even talking to her or anything. And I was down at a show in San Antonio, and her husband was there, Tom. And yeah, of course, he was kind of intimidating too, but not as bad. And I said something to him about I would love to have one of Andrea's Springers. And he says, well, why don't you just call her? And I said, okay, I will. I was really, really nervous.
When you put it that way.
I know, exactly. It's like, I don't want to call her. She's mean. So about 6 months later, I gave her a call, and she was like, Tom told me you were going to call. Why haven't you called sooner? And I was like, oh, no. Oh, no.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that was my very first encounter with them. I got a Jack in the Box son I had. And then I got another dog from her that Jester Soaring Above, which was a Condor son. Sally okay. Condor. And I did quite a bit of winning with him. And the only agreement we had with the dog was if they wanted him back, they got him back to show. And so one day she calls me after I had finished him, and I'd done some winning with him in the breed. And she asked me to send him back. And I said, okay, when do you want him back? And she goes, that easy? And I said, well, that's what our agreement was.
Right.
I'm used to, I do these handshake things. So they took him back and showed him, they were using him to beat other dogs so that their bitch could win. But That's basically how I met her. We've become very, very, very close friends. And I learned a lot from them. I went back to Ohio and did a lot of, and did shows with them. Okay. And they just taught me a lot too, sportsmanship, everything. So that's basically what I've learned.
That's incredible. And so when you, kind of shifted from someone who's up and coming and, soaking in all the information, and then you kind of are getting at that higher level of competition, were there any people that were impactful or, made had an effect on you as somebody who's like campaigning and specialing dogs at the high level?
Well, my husband helped me a lot because he kind of keeps me centered. He still does. It's like, don't worry about it. I always go into a show. Oh God, who's in it? Who am I going to have to, compete against? And he's always, don't worry about it. Just go show your dog, do the best you can do. So he really, I think, has been my influence helping me that way. I've had several others. I think I talked to Jeanette McGinnis once in a while when I was first starting, and she was so proud of me, and she'd just tell me, hang in there, you can do it. Andrea has been very helpful and, told me things, you shouldn't do this. Like I remember her a long time ago saying, never take a picture with a group 3 or 4 because that looks like you're happy with it. And that's what she always said.
We only want the blues.
Exactly. She would take a picture. Now, those days it was the ads were mostly black and white. So they would take pictures with 1 and 2 because a 2 almost looked like a 1 because it was a dark good. And that was something she always said, and I learned, Annie Clark told me years ago, I wanted to do a picture. I had won something under her God, of course, and I wanted to do a picture with the dog laying down or sitting with her. And she says, honey, he has legs. He stands on them. And I always have remembered that. So, win pictures with judges, I always usually have to do a standing one because that I hear that in my mind when she says that.
I love that. So now looking back on your entire career, still actively showing and competitive, but, I'm sure you run into people who are kind of back where you were and getting started, maybe in the breed or just, as a handler. What would maybe be the first things that come to mind that you want to prioritize imparting on somebody who's newer or up and coming in the sport?
I think sportsmanship. Lately I have seen such bad sports in our breed, or our breed. And I shouldn't say our breed, in our dog show game. And I really think people need to learn sportsmanship. Like I said before, everybody's guilty of being bad sports because we all want to win, but
we're all passionate and emotional.
Exactly. But I feel like you need to congratulate every person that wins, no matter if they're your worst enemy in the world, you need to congratulate them as you walk out of the ring. I think people need to, young people or even, older people that want to get into dog showing, they need to find somebody that they admire and watch in their breed and go watch the breeds. I remember staying all day at dog shows and watching how this handler did this and this handler did that, or how they got their dog to do this and things like that. I think that's really important too. So many people, all they do is show their dogs and leave. And
Right.
they're not going to learn anything that way. Especially if there's only an entry or 2 or 3, how are you going to learn?
Such a missed opportunity. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I remember, I know you just got a cocker from the pits.
Yeah.
I'm amazed at Lynda Pitts's grooming. I mean, I feel like I do a great job in springers, and I do a lot of the same things she does. Well, she put out her video on grooming, and I'm just enthralled. I watch that all the time because I think it helps all different breeds. It's helped me do some things that I wanted to do on the springers, but I didn't really know how to do it. I'm still trying to do things on the cockers. I can't groom like her. I never will. I groom them all like springers, but that's just the way it goes. But I think people need to open their minds and not just stay centered on their own breed too. You can learn things from other people with other breeds.
Right. Stay open-minded and creative and looking for those opportunities that might be right there in front of you.
Exactly. Like I said, people are so narrow-minded, or they have the little cliques like we all have, and they stay in their little clique, and that clique says, "Oh, well, you got to do this, 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 and this, and this." Well, go to somebody else, and they might give you an opinion of something, and that opinion might work. So take that opinion and put it maybe with the others, and all of it will work together.
Beautifully said. Well, Lynda, thank you so much for your time with us today. It was so great to hear, about your experience and also your insight as well. So just really appreciate it and hope you guys have a wonderful new year.
Happy New Year to you. And thank you very much. Very fun.
It was our pleasure. Talk soon.
Bye-bye.